Hi, in this video we will discuss for each activity in Azure Data Factory. What is the objective of for each activity? For example, if you want to move several files from one location to another location, this one location might be any directory in ADLS, this might be any blob storage, this might be any SQL server, this might be any on-premises SQL server, or any other folder inside the storage account. So here on the left hand side we have input1, input2, input3.csv, all these structure files. I want to move all these files into the different storage location. This might be the another directory, this might be the another folder in ADLS or in another ADLS or in the same ADLS. So this is nothing but a repeating control flow in an Azure Data Factory, and we are going to perform copy data activity inside the for each. So here you can see a repeating control flow is defined as for each activity defines a repeating control flow in an Azure Data Factory or Synapse pipeline. This activity is used to iterate over a collection and executes specified activities in a loop. The loop implementation of this activity is similar to for each looping structure in programming language. Let's see the implementation part of this context. Here is the link where we have for each activity in ADF. If you go down, so first and foremost we will have to create the for each activity. I'll have to create the parameter as we discussed in the previous video how to create parameterize. If not, so just go to the description link. You will find the parameterize format inside the copy activity. Then we can add the item in the for each item activity, add the variables, and will conclude the for each activity. Inside this for each activity, I'll take one copy activity as well. Let's show this part where we have the ADF. So this is the ADF tool, and this is my already running copy for each activity. Here you can see this is the succeeded, and if I show this part, this output part, you can see this is the output part where I can see the for each activity output. All right, so if I want to show the output and the storage, I would say, so here I had the storage accounts. This is the only storage account I have, and inside this own storage I have the containers, I have input containers. So from the source folder, input1, input2, input3 CSV respectively, all these files should be moved in another containers. So this container name is folder for each, and I'm going to use this subfolder for each CSV and folder for each for department CSV and folder for each sample.data.csv. Why it's showing another folders and why we have so many folders here? Because we had the JSON kind of file. If you want to see the structure of this parameter, here is the JSON file where we have input file as the input CSV, input container, this is the container name. Here is the output container. If I hit the enter here, you can see very clearly this is the input directory, this is the output container, this is the output directory. And so first is the input file, next is the input container, third is the input directory, and then output file, and then output container, then output directory. So in the same fashion I created three kind of dictionary. One is this, one file. For one file I had created this value, for the another file I had created this value, this one, and for another file I had created this series. So we had to move four files. This is the reason I just created three different sections here. So you can create more section if you have, for example, 4 files. So you need to create 4 files, and we'll have to provide all these input container, input directory, output files, output container, output directory, and for each will automatically like connect and automatically take all these variables from their respective values. Let's move to the creation part, how I created here. So if you can see inside the for each, I just go to the setting. Here I had the metadata. What is the metadata? I just assign this entire file into the metadata variable. So this is the entire metadata variable. I'll have to copy this entire dictionary or JSON format inside this variable. If I show the variable's name here, can you see this is the metadata variable? And if I show this all the parts, you can see this is the entire value here. So here we have all the value. I just pasted all the values. So I'll show this entire activity from the scratch. Let's go and let's create this entire activity. So I had already created this Azure Data Factory. I'm not going to create this Azure Data Factory instance. I'm just creating storage account from the scratch. So I'm just creating the storing account in the same resource group. You can create your own resource group as well. So I'm going to create test2 home and storage test2 and August 22. So I'm going to select the central India, going to click next because I need hierarchical namespace ADLS Gen 2 and want to enable access control list. So I'm going to click this part, then OK, and then click next. I do not want to change any other settings. So I'll click next, next, and finally I'll review and create. So it will create a storage account in your Azure portal. All right, so you can see it's being processed. It will take time, few seconds might be. As you can see, my deployment is now completed. I can go to the resource. Inside this resource, I just created the containers. I need two containers. One is for input, second is for output. So I'm going to create the input container here. This is going to create. Inside this input, I'll create the directory. So if I create the input underscore directory, so I'll create the input underscore directory here. So I'm going to keep it name. So this should be matched with the same input directory. Here we have input file, input1, input file, input directory. So I'm going to keep it here, input directory. So here also we had the input directory. So I'm going to replace this folder by input directory. And here we have the input directory. I'm going to replace this by input directory. And I'm going to change this file folder. So what is this name here? The container name is input. So make sure we have input container everywhere inside this file. So input container is input. That's correct. Input container is input. Input container is input. That's correct, right? Now go inside the, going to close this part and go inside the input container input directory, and I'm going to upload three files here. So I'm going to upload one input one. Let's copy cut C, cut V, cut V. So I'll call it input one. I'll call it this file as input 2. I'll call it this file as input 3. Now I can import these three files, input 1, input 2, input 3. Let's click OK, open, and you can see three selected files are already there. So I can upload this file. So you can see this is showing input 1, input 2, input 3. Make sure you have the same name here. So can we have input file input 1.csv, input 2.csv, and input 3.csv? These are input files. So we have set three parameters as of now. In all these three contents, we have connected three parameters here. Now I'm going to connect the output part. So that's the output part. What is the output? I'm going to create the container. So let's say this is the output. So I'm going to create this output, copy this output container, just create it. Go to the JSON file and I can see output container. I'll have to paste it here. Now I'm going to see this output container. This is the folder. I'm going to replaced by output. Here we have the output container named folder for each. I'm going to replace by output because we had another output container. Now inside this output container, I'm going to create a directory. So I'm going to create output underscore directory. Control A, Control C. I just save it. Now I'm going to check my JSON file again. Output directory is name is some folder for each. So I'm going to replace by newly given name. So output directory is there. Output directory is there. I'm going to replace this output directory. I'm going to replace this output directory here. That's it. I do not want to change this output file. Reason being that file is already not there. Inside these folders we do not have files here. So what will happen? So it will automatically create that file name and will paste all the input 1, input 2, input 3 files from this position. So what is the output name? So output file is department.csv, output file name is employee.csv, output file is sample underscore data.csv. I'm going to keep it the same name here. All right. So now I'm going to copy this entire value, entire scenario. Just take from this one, remove all these comma, remove all these comma part, and remove this spaces also, and just copy this portion, Control C. Now go to the Azure Data Factory. Now I'm going to create another data factory author. Inside this author, I'm going to just copy. I just deleted all these stuff. Delete, right? So I'm going to delete this pipeline so that we can create the new pipeline. I'm going to create this data set, right? I'm going to click on author. Inside this author, I just created inside this pipeline. I just deleted this part and going to insert one copy data activity. Can you see this is now showing here? Now inside this copy data activity, here is the source. So inside this source, I'll have to take the input data set. So this is the old input data set. Let me show. So inside this input data set, here we had taken this file. So input data set is there. If you can see, this is showing the dataset.container. This is the variable part. I'm not going to explain this one. Here we have the variable container. So if I show uh, this pipeline where I had created pipeline, so integration runtime or link service, you can see inside this link service I can show this test connection. Yes, it is connected here. So if I can show this link service part, okay, so if it is not there, I can create new link service. So I'm going to create this one and new data set. So I'm going to create new data set for my ADLF, and this is the CSV file. So I'm going to select CSV file here. So I'm going to select input data set underscore test2, and I'm going to create new link service now. So I'm going to create ls underscore test2 and select my Azure subscription, select my name. So this is the storage test Sachin, right? So what is the storage name? Just click here. Do we have storage Sachin? Yes. Inside the storage Sachin, do we have same containers? Yes. Folder for each, right? Yes. But we will have to change the another folders. So this would be the another storage. Can you see? I just refresh the same type. It's showing the storage August 2022. So I can see this part is showing the storage August 22 test2. If I click create, can you see now I'm going to keep all these value blank. If I can browse, obviously it's showing input and output container. Inside the input we have input directory, and inside the output we will have output directory. So I'm not going to select this one because these are variables one. So at the dynamic level I'm going to select all these parameters. So I'm going to select import schema none, click OK. Now inside this input directory I can see this is the empty. Currently it's empty. So I want to create the empty part. I'm going to create parameters from here. So here I'm going to create, first is the container. This is the container. The second variable name is the directory. And what is the third container name? Third variable I'm going to create the file name. So I'm going to create three parameters here so that I can define here. So inside this that add dynamic content, I'm going to click container at the rate dataset dot container. It is fetching. Inside the directory, I'm going to add dynamic content here. I'm going to click directory here, click OK. Inside this file name, I can fetch the third parameter, which is file name here, and just click OK. So it's going to inherit all these parameters from the input files. Now I'm going to create the another data set, and this data set will be again the ADLS and the CSV file, and I'm going to create is output for output purpose, and this would be the output underscore dataset underscore test2, and this time going to select the test2 link services. Again keep it blank because we need dynamic variable. So I'm going to import schema none and OK. So again I'll do the same procedure inside this output because all these are empty. So I'll have to create new parameters. So I'll have to create the parameters in this file. So this one is what? Container. And I'm going to create the next file is for directory. Then here we have for file name. Alright, that's it. If I go here inside this file system, I'll have to add dynamic. I'll select container. This is for the destination part. Previously we were setting for source part. So I'm going to select this directory here. I'm going to select this file name as file name here. That's it. This is the output dataset test here. We just selected here. Now go to the pipeline. Inside this copy activity, I'll have to select this. So first I'll have to create the variable. Why variable? Because we need to paste this entire JSON object or dictionary object inside the copy activity, inside the activity file. So data flow. So I'm going to create a variable here, and this is the metadata you can see. So I'm going to create metadata here and replace the old one, paste it here so that we will have correct path in each source and destination. Now go to the copy data activity, set your source and sink, and I'm going to select this input dataset test2 because this is the only having all these values. So now we have the container directory file name. Inside the sink, I'm going to select the output dataset test2 because this is defining this is defining my destination part. Now that's it. Now what I'll do, I'll create one for each activity because we want to iterate the same process. We want to copy first input file to the output. We want to copy second input file to the output to third input file to this third output file. So for this iteration, we need for each because we are not going to perform the same copy activity once. We need to perform copy activities multiple times. So if 3 times required, so this for each will perform 3 times. If we have 10 files, so this for each activity will take 10 activities, 10 times, will perform 10 times. So here I'm going to set for each activity and we'll go to the setting inside this item. I'm going to add dynamic content here. So I'll ask for each that just take this parameter, go to the variable. I'll select the metadata, which I just created outside this for each and copy outside at the canvas level. So this is just taking the dynamic content below using the combination of expression function. This is the variable and metadata. Just click here. It's just accepting all the JSON files, all these material where we have given every source and destination path here. Now I'm going to click on this parameter and will control and con, uh, click control X, edit and paste it here. All right, so inside this activity, so we had the source, so we will have to provide this container directory file name inside the source as well. We will have to provide the container directory file path inside the sinks. How it will analyze, how it will pick, how it will fetch the respective address. So from the add dynamic, I'll take the for each item. So I'll select the for each item. Inside this for each, I'll select the container. So from where you will get the container, you just do one thing. This is the shortcut. You just copy one line from this portion, copy this entire line, go here because you will go for multiple times. So I'll select this as the directory path. So I'll select this input directory, cut C, cut V, that's it. I'm going to control X, going to clean other parts. That's it. This is the input directory. Sorry, this is the container. So I'll have to take the container, not the directory. So this is the input directory. So I'm going to copy this input directory and input directory here. So I'm going to clean other parts here and that's it. This is the first input container. Go for the directory, collect from the for each. This is the current item and click on enter dot and go to the input file. And here I'm going to collect the input directory. So I'm going to copy this input directory variable name, paste it here. So I'm going to clean other items. That's okay. Now I'm going to create a file name. So fetch the file name from for each, hit enter, and from each it's going to select this item. What is the item here? Now inside this file name, I'll have to put input file variable. So I'm going to replace it here. So I can clean other parameters. Just click OK. Now in the same format, I'll have to make sure that sync is also synchronized with the for each activity. So I'm going to click for each activity, click OK and hit enter, click here. So here we had the first is the container. So I'll have to pick the output container variable. Make sure you are giving the correct container name, correct variable name. So I'm going to clean this part and OK. So I'm going to click provide the directory name here. Just pick from the for each, enter dot, enter here, and here I'm going to click the output directory, control X, control V and clean other stuff and click OK. I'm going to click file name here. I'm going to pick from for each dot, hit enter. Here I'm going to click this output file. this is the output file. That's it. So we had set all the 6 variables, 3 for input file, 3 for output files. So that's it. You can see the source is having input relevant variables, sync is having output relevant variables from the JSON format, which we have just described here. So now that's it. I can go here if everything looks fine. So we can go for the for each activity and we can run this file. First, allow me to publish, and if it is published, then we can validate this entire pipeline and then we can debug eventually. So it will take few minutes. So here you can see it's publishing completed. Can I validate? Yes. Yes. So your pipeline has been validated. No errors were found. Close and now debug. So it will take few minutes or few seconds. So meanwhile, I'm going to pause this video, and once it is succeeded, I'll resume this video. Alright, here you can see we had successfully completed for each, succeeded, copy activity, succeeded, copy activity, succeeded, copy activity, succeeded. Now if you can see this entire for each just transferred all my files, all 3 files from one location to another location. If I show this container, this is the test2, this is the containers. Here we had the container output and container directory. Here we have department CSV, employees.csv, sample.csv. So these are input 1, input 2, input 3.csv respective, all the files respectively. So here you can see all these stuff is just perfectly running, and in the same format you can set all these input files here. Do not forget to delete all the resources from your portal.azure, otherwise it will incur your bill. And also the most common mistakes while performing this activity is giving inside the variable, giving wrong file, wrong JSON files. For example, if you give, sometimes what happens if you give any another extra space, that will give the error in your succeeded activity. For example, inside this you giving some, for example, giving any 2 here, so it will again give the wrong output. It won't success. For example, if you didn't give any other path wrongly, for example, inside this output you just give another folder name which is not there, file is not there, file not located there. So these are common mistakes. For example, inside this variable name you just giving the wrong parameters, which is fetching from the JSON file. So these are the common mistakes while performing this activity. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining this call. Thank you.